So we're talking about failing forward. Maybe you've heard that term kind of being thrown around in culture right now. What is that idea of failing forward? It's the idea of making mistakes, but the mistakes actually serve in helping us make progress. And when we're talking about in the spiritual sense, we're talking about our sanctification, our walk with God. Failure is actually a part of growing in our relationship with Christ. It's a part of becoming more like Christ. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in this series. And just to be clear, what are we talking about when we're talking about failure? There's a degree, I should say a range of things that we're talking about when we're talking about failure. Sometimes we're talking about catastrophic failure, right? When I think of the Space Shuttle Challenger blowing up, that was a catastrophic failure. Sometimes failure is devastating in that kind of sense, but failure doesn't have to be to that degree. Sometimes failure is just, you made a mistake. And the dictionary defines it this way: the omission of expected or required action. That's what failure is, just making mistakes. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big. So we're going to talk about failure and the value that it brings to the Christian life. You see, here's the interesting thing is when we talk about success, doing things right, one thing that success always does for us is that it reinforces our beliefs, our values, our way of thinking. It reinforces the status quo, right? When things go the way that we expect them to, we just keep on rolling. But when things go poorly, when there's a mistake made, when there's failure, it brings disillusionment. It's like, oh, that didn't go the way that I expected. That didn't go the way that I wanted it to. And it brings about in us this need for reflection, to reevaluate our circumstances and the way that we're thinking or the way that we're doing. It brings disillusionment to the way that we do life. And so when failure happens, it brings disillusionment. Okay, we're able to see more clearly now. It brings clarity. And when there's clarity, there can be future growth. You with me? I can see more clearly now because of my mistakes. Now I can change course and I'm more likely set up for success, whatever that looks like. So let me give you an example. I remember very clearly, I took this course in college. I won't tell you which one it was. But I took this course, and I remember waking up one morning and realizing that class was that day, and there was a paper due that day that I hadn't even started yet. And fortunately, my schedule was pretty open that morning, and so I just pounded it out. Anybody been there? I got an A. I got an A on that paper. It was awesome. It was amazing. And so here's the problem with that. When you get an A without putting in the work that should be required, what does it do? It reinforces that the way that I did it by procrastinating and waiting till the day of was sufficient. Right? I got by with doing it the day of that time. Surely that will work again in the future. Now you understand what I'm talking about? So really, if I had gotten a poor grade like I should have, that would have brought disillusionment. It would have helped me to understand, okay, waiting till the day of wasn't adequate. I should probably back up a few days, make a plan for when and how I'm going to get this done well. That disillusionment would have helped me give me greater clarity so that I could have future success. You with me? That's what we're talking about.